talents of our people in the areas of sports, culture, and nation building.
Good evening and welcome to Community Forum. I'm your host, Byron Campbell. Wherever you are, good evening. And of course, our co-host, Chris Diali. Christopher, good evening. And good to see you again, Chris.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Byron, thank you for being here. Thank you for letting us into your lives and into your rooms and into your spaces, wherever they may be.
Chris, we have an exciting program this evening. First of all, I want to say that we have a guest, because you know it's Independence. Of course, it's the 51st Independence, so we'll have a conversation with our next guest on this matter a bit later. But we want to apologize also. Last week, due to technical difficulties, we were unable to air the program, but we've remedied this and we're on. Yeah, Chris, some good news. The Investment Migration Agency, what's the previous name of this? People may know it. CBI. Has been doing extremely well. Chris, here are the numbers. For 2024, it's raised $562 million. Yeah, where the majority of the applicants or the successful applicants came from China, Nigeria, Lebanon, all over the world actually, I would say, but this is positive, Chris. You're no stranger to this. You've been the chairman of this institution for a number of years also yourself. But what's interesting, Chris, is that when you look at the $562 million, $80 million of that went to meet expenditures. You know, the advertisers, the promotion, the agents, they don't work for free. So a lot of, and you probably explained that to us. So we are left with, the government of Grenada was left with $473 million. But what's interesting is that represents 40% of our projected revenue for 2024. We don't know the exact revenue yet, but that was a projected amount from last year's budget, 2024 budget. 40% out of a $1.2 billion budget. So you can say 1,200 million revenue projection. That's awesome. I mean, congratulations to. Is this sustainable, though, Chris? Can we? Would this continue?
Well, I believe it would. The IMA, as it stands now, are still not up to their full potential of processing applicants. That doesn't speak to how much applicants was processed.
No.
So I know target is to get to 2,000 applicants a year, 3,000, which would probably move those figures far from where they're reported. So I think it has the potential to do very well. High net worth people are not people who could obey, that will obey where they want them to put their money. They will decide where they want to put their money, what jurisdiction, what part of the world, and with that comes, some level of security when they have a passport attached to it and the privileges that a passport brings. The Grenada program has a very good reputation, and it continues to have an association. Once you get a certain type of visa for the U.S., you get access to the U.S. as a business enterprise. So it has good positives going forward. The issue going forward is to ensure that the security protocols are kept strong, and that I still believe that is an organization that needs to be statutorized. Hence, you have a board of directors, you have directors from the government and the minister in charge, and you operate. One of the goals of IMA is to get as a one-stop shop. You know, there's too much aspects all over the place, like passport office.
I understand it's been digitalized now, the whole
Yes.
process, so no paper. But I want to compliment the agency also for its transparency and the reports that are forthcoming. I mean, you have detailed quarterly reports that you can see with all the data necessary. I think this is
But that's an act of parliament.
that's an act of parliament.
They must give the report.
So it's working, and I mean, I would like to see this type of reporting in other institutions also.
What will be interesting is find out how much of this money went to the National Transformation Fund, the
Yeah.
NTF.
It's there. It's there in the report, in the
Right.
fourth quarter report,
And then
Chris.
how much of that they
Yeah.
use for recurrent,
Yeah.
for budget support for the government and infrastructure
Infrastructure
development.
development,
And
yeah.
that is things that we need to see so that the average and the ordinary person can understand
Yeah.
that CBI makes a
Yeah.
serious contribution.
Yeah. Chris, in the parliament yesterday, there's
28.
parliament, yeah. A water management bill was tabled. Interesting, this new legislation would remove the management of water resources from NAWASA and place it in the Ministry of Public Utilities. Interestingly, again, what's interesting though is that where traditionally farmers would be allowed to harvest water from stream arbitrarily, now they will have to get a license, get permission, apply, and so forth, so that there's overall greater management. My issue with this, and I think greater management of our water resources is necessary. That's a good thing. But I think what's lacking here, Chris, was the absence of consultation. You know, I heard nothing about this before the debate was taking place. Important bill. Where is the consultation? But in going forward.
Well, you know, I started going through it today and noticed that new, I suppose, a statutory body
Yeah.
of sort, or attached to the ministry, I don't know yet. I had to finish read the bill to understand, but the question that comes to mind is an excellent bill in managing your water resources in the country and taking care of the quality and all of that.
Yeah.
As you say, it removes some of that from NAWASA.
Yeah.
NAWASA would test raw water, do various tests in the oceans to understand coliform levels and all of that. So I assume this body is going to adopt this and to some degree. And you know, in all of these things, you need to understand whether the efficiencies is going to be better or less than or equal to what NAWASA brought to the table. Then you have to have the necessary people with the right training and resources and lab facilities to do what they have to do for quality and so on. So I think overall it is a good intention. I wait to see how it will work, because this is the key.
Yeah.
Because water is so important to us in these islands with all the climate change.
It's critical.
That is critical, and water is touted to be one of the most important resource that will come in the next 10 to 15 years. In other words, it's going to be more important than oil. You understand? Because of the importance of fresh, high-quality natural water. So it is a good move from the government to target it and to try and manage it better. But let us see if they really...
How it works out. Well, just reminding our viewers that we have Jackie Alexis. She's the chair of the National Celebrations Committee. She'll be joining us after our first break. Chris, the health insurance scheme. We heard the Prime Minister announcing that the government has terminated an agreement with a U.S. company, JIPA Network, that they were doing work for the implementation of the commissioning of the scheme. Didn't give any specific reasons, might have been a performance issue, but the company has indicated very clearly, I've read their report, they've said that, look, they have performed, you know. Clearly, there's an issue there, how it works out. I mean, we are likely to have further delays in the implementation of the scheme. The timing for the implementation of the health insurance scheme was for November of this year. The question is...
November last year.
November of last year, not this year. So it's behind. Okay. What's your take on this?
Well, you know, the NHI is a critical component of the health sector reform.
Yeah.
The government has indicated they want to build a new facility in
Calavini.
area, down that area.
Yeah.
And I have always critiqued that a new facility in terms of brick and mortar would not help right? If you take what you have in the general hospital and move it to a new facility, it doesn't make no difference in terms of quality of care.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the right human resources to do it, it makes it even worse. We run short of nurses, we run short of doctors. So brick and mortar to me doesn't help. And with NHI offers some relief to persons at the ordinary level who cannot afford certain medical attention. Our hospital have problems with doing normal tests, whether it's blood tests and other tests. We can't maintain equipment that we have, X-ray units and so on. We always have problems with these things. So I say that to say that quality healthcare, or at least moving the quality of our healthcare up a notch or two, requires an NHI and a proper functioning NHI. People have to pay for the services, whether it's through national health insurance or otherwise. Right? Whether you have private insurance, health insurance where you work or others, you have to pay. In the US, if you go and do any kind of medical, unless you're on some of the Medicare plans, you have to pay.
There's a cost.
There's a cost.
There's a cost.
And we had to get away from this thing in the Caribbean and in these islands that healthcare is free.
It's not free. It's a very expensive
very
operation.
Expensive. And you know, we never get aid for healthcare.
No.
You never hear me going and say we get an aid for healthcare.
Yeah. Chris, one of the things, you are of course a mediator, but what's happening there, and mediators we know within the Eastern Caribbean courts traditionally, well, focus on what you call civil matters, yeah? Now we've heard the court indicating a new direction to include also for mediation some criminal matters. Announcement, is it a good thing? What's your sense of this from your perspective?
Well, mediation is an excellent thing, as you know, Byron. I think we have a backlog of cases again building up, both on the civil side and on the criminal side. And the criminal side normally takes precedence over civil matters because of the importance of what the matter is and the fact to get some level of judgment as quick as possible. So we have the Eastern Caribbean Court have indicated that they want to extend non-indictable matters to mediation. So petty theft and that kind of thing, instead of going through the magistrate's court and blocking up the calendar, you send it to mediation and so on. But we also need a couple of things done. We need to extend the mediation list, which we had training recently. We have not got more mediators on the roster. A place to do mediation. We have been working on Colonial Life Building for God knows how long to get a proper mediation center. And that, as far as I know, has not been put in place yet. So there are things that we need to do in order to get the mediation to function efficiently and better than how it's been functioning now. So it is one of the best forms of getting justice as quick as possible, but it is one of the best forms of resolving conflict and getting resolution. But you know, certain basic things is like the High Court, and you know, certain basic things must be done to get a legal system to operate properly.
One of your observations has been garbage on Grandad's Beach more than usual. It's a critical.
You know, Byron, I try to go on the beach once a week and walk and swim and so on. And you know, when you're walking down Grandad's Beach, either from the northern end or the southern end, and you see the garbage on the beach, it is really offensive. And I keep saying we are a nasty set of people, right? And what is even more hurtful, where you see the garbage, just 10 feet away is a garbage bin.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of you just moving from there and putting it in the garbage bin. You have a number of bins on Grandad's Beach, and yet still we wouldn't take the time to go and put it in the bin. We just leave it on the side. The dogs come and they have a mess, and the place, our premier beach for tourists. The morning I saw
ourselves.
We had two tourist boats coming in. The guys setting up the umbrellas and the chairs, and the garbage. I mean, you know.
We could do better than this,
Yeah,
Chris.
I think so. If that wasn't in front of a house, I don't think they would accept it.
Yeah. Any matter you want to raise here, Chris? Before we go to our guests, take a break and go to our guests.
I wanted to compliment the police for doing an excellent job with their raids on arms and ammunition, and they seem to be doing a lot of work on that in various aspects of the country, so that's positive. The more guns we get off the street, the better it is.
Yeah.
But I also want to spend 2 minutes and extend sympathies to the passing of Mr. Michael McIntyre, the chaplain, earlier on this month, and was interred. I think Michael was a pillar in the community as a businessman, as well as his actions and his contribution to tourism sector,
Yeah.
particularly airlift.
Yeah.
You know, I knew him very well, a gentleman with a big heart.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that is a loss for us. And, you know, the McIntyre brothers' business have contributed to so many people in Grenada in terms of qualification and so on. When they were in the Lagoon, I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember.
Yes, I remember those days. Yeah.
The amount of men who went through the business and trade
Mhm.
and now have their own businesses, it has been, you know, really super.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is something that we
Yeah.
must mention.
Yeah.
I don't think you want to touch politics.
Well, we don't have time for the politics, that's the truth, but there's a lot happening with resignations, with new leadership. We also have a lot happening in the Middle East, in the US in particular, with Trump 2.0.
Yeah.
But we'll have to leave a lot of those discussions for next week, probably, because we have to go to our next guest. We're going to take a short break here, viewers. When we come back, we'll be joined by Ms. Jackie Alexis, the chairperson of the National Celebrations Committee. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
At Maitland's Motor Sales and Rentals, we sell engines for all makes of vehicles: Toyota GT Corolla 6-speed, Toyota MR2 and Evolution 3. We've got transmissions for Toyota Noah, 2.0 Suzuki Escudo, Toyota Corolla. Windscreens for Grand Vitara, 2 and 4-door Escudo, Toyota Corolla front and back, and Suzuki Escudo wheel covers. Also available are motor oil, oil filters, crystal headlights for Toyota Corolla, brakes for all makes of vehicles. We sell C16 and Q16 racing fuel. Special prices on oils and accessories for customers who purchase vehicles from us. You're never left undone because we source the part if we don't have it. Maitland's Motor Sales and Rentals, empowering people through mobility.
Welcome back, viewers. This is Community Forum. As we indicated earlier, one of the guests we have this evening is Ms. Jackie Alexis, Jacqueline Alexis, who is the head of the chairman of the National Cultural, I don't think it's foundation, Grenada Cultural Foundation, or director on the board. Ms. Alexis is the chairperson who is handling the celebrations in the
committee,
country,
national
committee.
celebrations,
Yeah, and she in particular is going to tell us a lot about what is going on for the independence celebration, the 51st celebration. Ms. Alexis is English born, has spent most of her life in cultural activities, theater, and that type of dance and ballet, and she has been very involved in the cultural arts. She is the manager now of the Grenada Cultural Foundation. She also was part of the Ministry of Sports and Youth and did a lot of work as a human resource officer as well. So we'd like to welcome Ms. Alexis to the program. Ms. Alexis, welcome.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me on this evening. Just a small correction, I am not the manager of the Cultural Foundation. I do sit on the board.
Okay,
She's on the board. Okay.
excellent. So you have your input, I would suspect. So Ms. Alexis, let's take it off. I mean, we particularly want to discuss, we just came out from a 50th celebration of independence, and we're going into the 51st. What is it we're going to be doing differently to the 50th in terms of what we celebrate and what we celebrate?
Well, yes, the 50th just seems to have been just yesterday, and here we are with the 51st already, so it's the years are flying past. In terms of what will be different is, of course, last year was a spectacular year. There were activities going on right throughout the year, which weren't all national events, some were more community-based, parish-based, village-based, that kind of thing. So it was a whole year-long series of activities, and it was a wonderful year. Of course, we're into our 51st now. We can't replicate what we did last year. We can't, do it all again. So we are, if you like, returning to the status quo in that we go back to some of our standard events, but also trying to raise the bar a little and also be involved in other things. So, for instance, this past weekend, we collaborated with the Steel Band Association on their activity that they've been doing for the past, this is the 4th year, Pan on the Sand. We were able to collaborate with them to help them to develop their product, to help them to elevate what they've been offering and to make the experience an even more fun and interesting experience for all. So we're looking and we'll continue to look at how we can develop what we do and enhance what we do. But you won't see last year again this year.
I know in the celebrations this year, and I want to be careful, the Calypso competition took some criticisms from the point of view that some of the artists felt that it should have remained a Calypso rhythm genre music competition and not open it up to soca or any other genres that we have in the Calypso world. So what was the celebrations committee thinking in terms of opening it up and bringing in more Calypsonians or people who play that are soca artists and so on to come into the competition and represent? I know some of the senior ones said they wasn't pleased with that. What was the thinking of the committee as it relates to that?
Well, the feedback has been quite varied. Yes, there are those who have had some more negative remarks about it, but we've also had some very positive feedback as well. In our thinking, it was two or threefold really, in that we are trying to have a competition that is not a replica of the annual Calypso Monarch competition at Carnival time. It's not a replica of the March Gras. We were finding that year after year, for the most part, we were getting the same artist all the time. That because it was called Independence Calypso Monarch, it felt very much like soca and groovy artists were not welcome because it was a Calypso competition. And so we felt that by dropping the word Calypso, that it would open the door to more artists coming in. And what we're talking about is the children of Calypso, so to speak. It's soca and groovy because the root of soca and groovy is Calypso. So that we weren't changing the competition, we didn't change the criteria, we just dropped the word Calypso to allow and to invite more artists to participate and feel a part of independence. Independence is for all. I mean, we could even say Carnival is for all, but not everybody is interested in Carnival. Carnival wants to take part in Carnival, but independence is something that belongs to all of us. And we would want everyone to be able to feel included in it and to feel a part of it. So that was where our thinking came from.
Okay.
Some may say it works, some may say we opened that door, and if this time next year we have to look at how we can develop it further, or it needs certain adjustments, then we can do that. But everything has to start somewhere.
Ms. Alexis, how does the committee measure success of the celebration beyond the attendance number? How do you view that? What are you looking for? How do you measure success?
For me, success in the first instance is measured by participation. You know, how much participation do we get in something like the competitions? How much participation do we get from persons, you know, taking advantage of like a free bus service and into the events? What can we do that is inclusive? What can we do that has something for everyone? So, you know, everybody has different tastes, everybody, you know, we don't all go to the same things. So what we have to do is try and make our events as open and inclusive as possible. And that's what we try and do. We try and have something for everyone. That isn't always achievable. Sometimes we miss the mark in some places, but that's what we aim to do. And as we move forward in future years, that's what we have been talking about. What else can we bring into the mix? I mean, we're very keen to involve our schools, our young people, because, you know, they are the future of the country, and they need to know their history, and they need to know what the importance of independence. So one of the things we're actually doing this year is the primary school quiz. So it's being done in the 7 districts. It's a quiz which is all focused on independence, the history of independence. In the 7 districts, the winners from each district will then go to the finals. That finals in, later down in February. So, you know, it's about involving everybody and having something there for them.
One of your theme is of course unity, national unity and inclusivity. But of course, Grenada is a diverse nation with varying political, social, economic interests. How would this celebration create a unifying national identity? How has this been forged into the celebration? How do you ensure that it is unifying your celebrations in particular?
Well, we actually just talked about one way. We just talked about opening the door to the competition to include more persons, artists from the different elements of calypso, soca, movie, and so on. So again, it's about opening the door. Unity is about uniting and bringing our country together as one. As I just said, independence is for all of us. It's not for any color, religion. It's for everyone. And it's up to us now to try and involve everyone and to encourage everyone to come out to the events, to be a part of independence, and to celebrate your nation and to take pride in our country.
One of the critiques, Ms. Alexis, that we have had in the past is that everything seems to be centered in St. George's. Is there any thinking of how we could move parts of the celebration into the country areas, the northern parishes, the east or western parishes, St. Andrews and so on? What in particular are we looking for in terms of how we spread that and get the inclusion that you're looking for?
From the NCC perspective, actually, we don't do excuse me, we don't do everything in St. George's. Obviously, Independence Day is in St. George's, and for obvious reasons. You know, the venue that we need to be able to use, a venue that is large enough to hold practically the entire nation. You know, the military parade and all of these things need to happen in St. George's. But actually, we have activities taking place in St. Andrews, St. Patrick's, St. David. We also have collaborated with the St. Mark's Development Organisation this year in an event that they call Rise to Independence, which actually happens on the morning, very early on the morning of the 7th. And it is what it says it is. It's Rise to Independence. So it's the sunrise. They are rising in St. Mark's. We know that's the Sunshine Parish. They start at 5:30 in the morning. So that's in St. Mark's. So in fact, MCC tries its best to go out into all the parishes and not to be centred very central.
Okay, give us, so Alexis, of course, the celebration is started already next year, but give us an outline of some of the major events and some of the logistics employed in the upcoming celebrations, in the ongoing celebrations, actually.
Right. Well, we started this weekend. We had the semi-finals for the Independence Monarch. That we now have our 10 finalists. Also this weekend we would have had the collaboration with Pan on the Sand Floor, which did happen on Granite's Beach. Moving into this week, we will be having on Saturday will be the finals of the Independence Monarch up in St. Patrick's at the bus terminal, and to bring up the awareness and the excitement around it, we're actually having a motorcade which will be leaving Wharf at 9 on Saturday morning from Cuthbert Peters Park. We'll be travelling through St. George's, down to Granates, and then up through Woburn, Calavini, right through on the eastern side down to Grenville. And then we will be stopping in Pearls. The GBN is hosting their oil down fest, so we will be joining them for some period of time and having some oil down, I hope. Having a little bit of fun there, and then moving up to St. Patrick's to bus terminal. The motorcade will end at MacDonald College, and then that will give people an opportunity to go on down to the bus terminal and get ready for the finals. So it's a full day of activities. Again, we've allowed for free buses, so anyone who wants to get on a bus and follow the motorcade, or if you want to come with your private vehicle, everyone is welcome. Please join us on the motorcade, and let's have a fun day. Sunday, the 2nd, will be our church service day. This again is something that we do every year. We believe it's important to give thanks and to look to the Lord for the blessings, as many blessings as we can get on our country for the rest of for 2025, for our 51st year. So the church service this year will be held at the RC Church in Goshen, and that will be at 3 p.m. That will be attended by the Governor General, the Prime Minister, and other senior leaders of government. We will have busloads of school children joining us. We usually have cadets and girl guides and lots of different groups joining us for that occasion. So again, free buses so that people do not feel excluded, that there is an opportunity for them to get on a bus and come and join us. And then we move into the final week, basically. Next Friday will be Independence Day, but the Thursday, the 6th, National Colours Day. That's a day we always invite persons to come out in your national colours, show national pride, and have a fun day. And in the evening, you can come to St. Andrews and celebrate with us the cultural extravaganza in St. Andrews at the bus terminal. And there'll be arts and crafts, lots of food, lots of cultural performances, so it's a fun evening. It will start at 6:30 with a flambeau walk, a deluxe cinema around Grenville and into the bus terminal. And then between 7 and 7:15 they'll start the cultural presentations. So there's lots happening in St. Andrews that day. And then of course the 7th, which is the day that everybody looks forward to, that everybody loves. Military Parade, which is a very popular. Everybody looks forward to what RGPF have to offer. The day will happen in 3 sections. It will start with the military, but actually 4 sections. It will start with the expo. We always have an arts and craft expo with our young entrepreneurs, business people showcasing their goods and their products. And that will happen just on the grassy area outside Kirani James Stadium. That starts from 1 o'clock, with entertainment as well. And then the parade should arrive at the stadium by 3 p.m. And then that will start the military section, which will include the arrival of the Governor General, the Prime Minister, and then of course the Governor General inspecting the troops and all that goes along with the military parade. And then the third section would be the section which will include national awards. This year we will be giving 50 citizens awards. Sorry, excuse me. 50 citizens will be getting awards this year, which are more tied to the 50th anniversary. So 50 citizens will be awarded in different categories. So that will happen. The Governor General will also be giving out her national awards for 2025. And we will have a feature address this year by a gentleman from West Africa, Mr. Aliko Dangote. He will be with us for Independence and will bring in an address. So we're looking forward to that. We'll also have the usual address by the Prime Minister. We always look forward to hearing the Prime Minister on Independence Day. And that would complete the third section. And the final section would be the cultural presentations. There will be a presentation that is being worked on as we speak. It's going to be a narrated piece, and it's going to flow right through. So it's not stopping and starting. It's a complete theatrical presentation, which will end with some soca and calypso artists. And then finally, we will have this year again a drone presentation and fireworks. So it's a complete day of exciting.
That's a lot of activities. As you mentioned, the 50th, and that's quite a full plate. As you mentioned, the 50th anniversary. Are any of the resources that were purchased obtained for the 50th anniversary, for example, the Carenage lights that were removed, are these going to be re-erected? What's the decorative plan here? Are we going to have drones again? What's this anniversary is going to be like?
The lights, as far as I know of, are not going to be going back up, not this year. The decorations that we had for last year, many are being reused this year, particularly in and around the stadium when it's for decorations and so on. So yes, we are utilising some of the things that we would have had to purchase for last year. Okay. We are reusing them again this year. And obviously you would have seen by now that decorations have already gone up around the country, in the main streets and government buildings and so on. All of that has already happened. So yeah.
Coming out from last year, again, we're looking at last year. What any lessons learned there that you're going to apply to the 51st anniversary? What were some of the bottlenecks? What were some of the traffic issues, logistical issues that you anticipate reoccurring this year? You've taken actions to avoid this year?
Well, I mean, there are always lessons to be learned from anything we do in life. I think that it's fair to say that last year was a particularly special year. Some of the numbers in terms of participation and the persons coming to certain events, I think, as much as we'd like to see that again, I don't know that we will. Because again, people came out especially because it was the 50th. So RGPF may have learned some things from a traffic perspective. I know last year it took me about maybe 3 hours to get to the stadium, and that was just from what's that area called? Just before 10 to get into the stadium. I don't know that we'll be seeing that kind of traffic again in a hurry, but I think from that perspective, maybe some lessons were learned there.
Okay, and again, I want to go back to the 50th anniversary because it was a significant milestone, a celebration. Significant budgets, of course, I think in the vicinity of $22 million thereabout. Are there any reports, any documentation coming out of this celebration or last year that to provide some continuity in the planning in the in finance strategies as we go forward to the next 50? Are there any documentation available from that committee last year that is available publicly that you know about?
I can't really answer that question. To be honest, the reason is that there was a special committee established for the 50th. It was the National Organising Committee. And whilst I was a member of the committee, I was not chaired. It was chaired by Dr. Wendy Crawford. And then, of course, there was the establishment of the Secretariat. So it was, if you like, it was kind of contained. And whatever reporting would have been done by through the Secretariat and through the chair of the National Organising Committee. So I personally do not have that information to have.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Are there any final points you'd like to make regarding the celebrations? Of course, it's ongoing. Sauteurs everywhere, different parts of the island. Any final statement, comments you'd like to make on the celebrations?
The adverts are all out there. They're on TV, they're on radio, they're on social media. You know, the schedules are there. I would just encourage people once again, as I already have said, you know, come out and participate. Take part in whatever event there is. Please come out to the stadium on the 7th and make use of the free transportation that is available. And let's all engage in a happy independence 2025 51st anniversary.
Well, we want to thank you very much, and of course wish the committee well, and we want to encourage also participation from citizens around the island. It's a national holiday, of course, and we wish you well, and we enjoy the celebrations and the holiday. Thank you very much for being on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Good evening. Yeah.
Thank you.
Chris.
Probably what we should have mentioned is the amount of oil and breadfruit that we need to, breadfruit might run scarce.
Well, let me use the opportunity, Chris, to say that there will be the Montmorris West Indian breakfast this Sunday, and of course there's also with that a oil down competition. So not only that you have West Indian breakfast, we'll have a oil down competition, and the oil down, the many pots will be available for tasting and purchasing, so it's going to be games for the children, bunks and castles, etc.
So what time the oil down pot is?
The oil down mid-morning. Well, yeah, by 11 o'clock. I mean, these spots.
Last time I came up there, it took me long to get some.
No. You come this Sunday. Everybody's invited and guaranteed you're going to get the best oil down. I was speaking just today with one of the competitors, and she is preparing. The ingredients are already being put together.
Once we can get to eat oil down by 11 o'clock. And not by 1 and 2.
So that's going to be a big deal. So there are other things, I think there are other oil down competition in some workplaces and so on also happening. So it's going to be, it's an opportunity for us to, but as I was discussing with her, Chris, here we come out from a 50th anniversary, and I think one of the objectives of the committee was to see a path, because, for example, when you look at the theme for this year, it talks about unity, transformation, some of these
overused words.
Yeah, so my thing is, coming out of the 50th anniversary, what do we have? What was the conclusion there? How do we, because there were various meetings and different discussions on it. What did we merge with? What is, I don't have a sense, I've not heard, I've not seen anything that clearly defines a path to this next 50 years, where we want to be. What form are we going to be there in?
Yeah, the Prime Minister did indicate 75
75
when
years.
he did his speech
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
Trade Center.
Yeah,
So the next 25 years and see how when we get to 75,
yeah,
if we need to model or think or do
Yeah.
something different. I mean, the reality is that this celebrations is basically the same as we normally get every year, not much difference. You have the 7th, you had the military parade,
yeah,
and so on. Well, the drone thing came from last year, they want to do it, fireworks and so
Yeah.
on. So, I mean, the lighting around the carnage, a lot of people have expressed some disappointment with that because it really had an effect. You know?
But you see, it's metal and it's rusting. It's not the appropriate material for
Yeah,
that
well, I
area.
mean, even that we should have taken into consideration.
And it's dangerous, frankly, how it's there. So
Well,
it seems
again,
so.
as a lesson we should have learned. You know, but anyway,
But one,
I think
Good.
you know, kudos for the organizers of
Yes.
bringing it on
Yeah.
51.
yeah,
You know, what would 52, 53 to 55
Yeah.
look like?
Yeah.
And you know,
But Chris, you see our link with Africa? We have the richest person on the African continent. I think his value is, 10 to 12 billion, guys, is coming to Grenada. He's going to give, as Mr. Alexis told us, he's giving the feature address. But what is he bringing? Is he going to be investing in Grenada? I mean, clearly, this government
that
is
the
making,
question. I mean, normally the Prime Minister gives the feature address.
yeah,
To talk about independence, national
yeah,
pride, and all of that.
yeah.
This guest is coming to do a feature piece. I mean, and you would expect that the government would be engaging this gentleman to see how investments could happen or not, and in what particular areas. We have an area of oil and gas that needs attention. He's Nigerian, they're very much advanced.
He's in the cement and fertilizer.
Yeah, so downstream activities.
Yeah.
So it would be good to see what we could get from him and what partnerships can develop.
Yeah.
You know, and the country could benefit in that sense. And I suspect that may be part of the speech when he comes.
Right.
You know,
Right.
let us see.
I look forward to seeing.
different.
I look forward to seeing you there, Chris.
Yeah, I don't normally go to the military parade, but I like
The cultural and she mentioned it's an exposition
the
of
locally
craft.
manufactured stuff.
Yeah, that's usually very good.
Yeah.
And you get
So
good
that is
bargains
something
there, and it's an opportunity also for the producers, the vendors, to make a dollar.
Yeah,
you know?
and to see
And
what
it's
Grenada
beautiful.
can do. Yeah.
It's-
So
I
that's one
always
of the
en-
things.
I always enjoy that part. Yeah. Viewers, that's all the time we have. We'll see you next week at the same time. Do have a good evening. We want to thank our technical staff and thank you for sharing your time with us. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Have a good evening.